Champagne.
And today we are going to discuss the book Orange Mint Honey by
Carleen Brice.
We are also going to talk about the movie Sins of the Mother. It's the same story, but two different titles. And the movie was directed by Paul Kaufman, and it was produced by Henry Kahn and Paul Kaufman. All right, so if anyone knows who wrote the screenplay, let us know.
Please.
And did anybody look up why they changed the name when they changed it, went from book to movie? Because I couldn't figure out why. Like, what was the point?
Right, because it didn't make sense because it's more than one Sins of the Mother movie with that same title. So it's kind of weird. But no, I do not know.
Yeah, I don't see why they changed it either. Except for with Orange Mint Honey, I mean, you have no idea what the movie is about. Mm-hmm. And maybe Sins of the Mother kind of gave you a hint that there was some kind of mother situation.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be a way to get more people to watch it. Because I did read that it's the second highest watched movie on the Lifetime Movie Network.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it got that award, I think, last year.
Not sure why.
So
Jill Scott.
But anyway, let's jump right into the book discussion. You guys got some opinions on the book, the storyline?
I thought it was a nice storyline. I mean, I thought it was interesting. It just didn't make for the best read. But
It was a little slow.
Yeah, but I thought the storyline was interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the storyline was pretty interesting. Like I said, it's very slow for me. So it took me a little bit to get through it. But
you made it.
I made it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It wasn't hard for me to get through. I mean, I thought it was, the dynamics of the mother and the daughter were pretty interesting. It was easy for me to try to relate to some of that dynamics. So I think that's why I enjoyed the book a little bit more, because I could relate to some of those issues that were going on.
Yeah.
Between the mother and the daughter?
Between the mother and the daughter, yeah. I feel like I could relate to it. Mom, if you're listening, not mother-daughter. We're talking daughter-father, but same thing.
Just to clarify.
Just need to clarify that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it did highlight communication and just some of that family dynamics and the need for healing, within that family dynamic. So that was interesting.
Especially after you hurt the people that you love.
Yeah.
Be able to have forgiveness. Those details.
Right.
And the details of when you are kind of like the worst parent in the world and then all of a sudden you kind of clean yourself up for the other child and how it kind of makes you feel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sort of like, why are you there for that child and not me?
Right. You don't necessarily want to be angry about it or jealous over it, but you still, in the back of your mind, have that, well, why?
Right.
What did it take? So I thought that whole dynamic was kind of interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that experience that.
Yeah. I had to keep reminding myself, like, why is she being such a jerk to her mom or whatever? Because we didn't see the part of her actually abusing, like neglecting the child.
But she talked about it a lot.
Yeah, she did. But I just, throughout the book, I just kept forgetting, like, gosh, she said she can forgive her. Like, I feel like you physically have to see it.
I'm sorry, who was saying she could forgive her? Because,
Exactly.
she is like the grudge holder of the grudge holder.
Yes, I am.
don't understand who's talking right now. Because that joker will hold a grudge forever.
That's true. I cannot deny that.
Let's tear some papers up and put it in the soil.
Right.
We're gonna
Which I
burn
thought was the coolest idea.
It is.
Maybe I'm just the last person to hear of that kind of idea, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
I never heard of that before.
But I like it. I like it too.
Yeah, it's a good
cute
healing.
idea.
Maybe I'll go get a pot.
I'm not a fan.
I'll go
Why?
get a
You're
pot.
not a
I mean, just think
Either
about it
way, I
because
just
it's
don't-
paper from the tree, and then it kind of circle of life kind of thing.
Yes, and then the roots
It grows
suck
up
it
from
up.
the
The
tree.
roots of the tree take it up and grow.
Really?
No.
Really?
Yeah, that's a no.
Is that the word? Or did
I
you make up your
do
own?
agree. I do get where you're
know
coming
what's
from with the roots and the paper, but I don't really get how it's symbolic. Like, you're writing down a prayer and putting it in the dirt for God to read.
You're putting it in the dirt to let it go. So it didn't seem as though whatever they were going through in the past, they were very spiritual. So I think for her, it may have been her way to write it down, get it off her chest, put it in the soil, and just let it go up.
Well,
because I noticed the other. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, because sometimes I get the two avenues confused, but in the book, it seemed like they were writing down the burdens and the troubles and whatever, and you're burying them to get them off your chest. In the movie, she was like, these are my names, you're giving prayers to me. So I was thrown off because I feel like the meaning of the paper in the dirt
Oh, it was completely lost.
was transformed in the movie. Like the movie was the prayer, which kind of I get lends confusion. Like, why are you putting the prayer in the dirt? But in the book, I felt like it was more of your sins or just things that you need to just get off your chest. You're putting
that you might not feel comfortable talking to somebody about, but putting it down into words so is communicating it.
Yeah.
Even though it's not going to a person, it's still coming off your shoulders.
It's kind of like
That's
that whole.
what I got in the book.
It's kind of like that whole speak it. You know, when
I'm
people
sorry,
say that all the
Champagne, what were you
time.
gonna
Okay,
say?
so on that
Speak
note,
it, Champagne.
yeah. So in the book, Nona's character, Jill Scott's character, said that you put your pain, you write down your pain, you bury it in the dirt. That way, something nice grows from your pain.
Oh, okay.
So that was the whole point of burying it, is putting away your pain, and something good, something will grow from the rich soil because
See,
the
and
paper.
that makes sense. But
Right,
in the movie,
that's what
it was
she
a
said.
prayer. It was prayers.
Right, exactly.
So
See
they
that?
messed it
Yeah,
up.
they messed it up.
Yeah.
They definitely messed
So
it up.
now that we've transitioned into that, let's talk about the movie.
Let's talk about it.
Paper's ready.
Okay, so let's start with what we liked about the adaptation.
I don't have that many, so
Hello, because
sorry.
I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna step up off Jill Scott.
Well, that's my only like.
Okay, then that's a big one. That's a big one. That's what I need to talk about. Because
I love Jill
me some
Scott.
Jill.
I will watch anything that she's in at least once.
Okay.
I love Jill Scott too, and I loved her in this movie. However, when they described the woman in the book, it was not Jill Scott
No.
because they described this woman who looked the same age as her daughter, who was thin, who was all of this woman,
That's
like
true.
you couldn't tell the age difference. And so Jill Scott did not meet the mold of how she was described in the book. So that threw me off, but I did like how Jill Scott played that role. The dynamics just changed.
Treva, I fully agree with what you're saying, and it was funny because I was thinking of Best of Enemies, how we said that Taraji's character was the opposite. And just now, in this movie, Sense of a Mother, they had switched what she was supposed to look like. I mean, fairly young, almost like her sister. I pictured her being tiny. Like,
I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, that threw me off. But what I will say, unlike Best of Enemies, Jill Scott took that position and that role made it her own. And just
agreed.
made you embrace it, which we didn't kind of get that feeling from the other movie book. But I did not picture Jill Scott in it at all.
I didn't picture her either, but I was okay with it once it started, completely changing from the book anyway.
You want to talk about that a little bit, Rhea?
Because it
Anybody
just...
got any likes? You got some likes you want to talk about?
No.
I honestly,
concluded.
I would say that I didn't necessarily like the actress Shay, but I do feel like I could have seen a Shay. Like, that wasn't as off as I thought it was.
Yeah. I like Shay.
I like Shay too. Yeah.
You want to talk about any other characters? Somebody that maybe didn't look as if they were the different age than Shay?
Well, Oliver.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
her boyfriend.
The boyfriend at the record store?
Yes, he looked like he was in his 30s.
Oh, were you getting that? Was good.
I
'cause
don't know about 30s.
I'm exaggerating, obviously, but he did look older than
They looked
her.
like they were the same age.
Yeah, easy.
That's
Look
for
the same age.
Agreed. And then also a difference of the book to the movie. He was supposed to have longer, not ratty, but longer hair.
He was supposed to have an afro, actually.
Exactly, because
And glasses.
in the book, they went to visit his mother and aunt and stuff, and she mentioned, please have him cut his hair.
Because he listens to
in
you.
the movie, Shape Up, I was like, wait, that was a very symbolic, like, I trust you with my son since he listens to you.
Right.
So please, let's have like a teamwork dynamic.
Right. But they
Was
took
even
out
in
that
there?
Was the
whole
mother
scene.
even in it?
I was getting there.
Okay. Good. Go ahead.
And that whole scene of
The
her
Thanksgiving
going to
scene.
see his family for Thanksgiving, having an actual Thanksgiving, was all out of the book or from the movie.
She reflected on that, on how she never experienced
Exactly.
this, and it was just so
So to me, it was so impactful. It just left out that
why
big
they took
thing.
her.
It left a lot of
It
impact
actually
with that.
made a lot of things that they took out made her and Oliver's relationship much more deeper than it was. I think in the movie, it came, or show, whatever you want to call it came across more as just like a fling. Whereas in the book,
they were just spending time together.
Yeah, you didn't get that. You didn't. Well, when you lose so many of the characters' reflections that are in the book, you lose so much about the character.
And that's one of the things that I marked that I just did not like about the movie. There were so many opportunities for them to do reflections or flashbacks. Like, I would have loved to have seen her have some flashbacks of something that happened in her childhood so that we could see how she felt when Mama rolled out on her and when she was home alone. Or the one aspect that they talked about in the book where she was home alone and the guys were knocking on the door.
That's what I wanted to see.
They could have easily flashed back those scenes so that we saw it and you really understood her anger towards her mother.
Or how about when she woke up in the middle of the night because she heard her mother get up and go outside? That was like a reflection on when she was younger, that's what time her mom would leave. But you kind of just watched her walk out, look at her mom, and then go back in. It's like, what was the point? If I didn't read the book, I would have been like, what was the point of that?
Right.
Exactly. She kissed her goodnight, and then after she thought she was asleep is when she left. And that right there would have completely changed their dynamic for us to understand more in the movie how resentful she was.
Which was my point earlier. Like, you don't see that. You kind of feel sympathetic more to Jill Scott's character because you don't see how, they don't flash back to how she actually, you don't visually see how she treated her, which connects you to that, how she feels and why she's so angry, other than the fact of her just explaining it.
Right. Yeah, they should have definitely given that visualization. The other thing that I did not like is the fact that they took out the whole Nina Simone dynamic.
Yes, that's my first.
I felt like she was this little kid, or she grew up, and Nina Simone was only constant or just thing in her life, and that's who she leaned on. That's who answered her questions for her, and that was gone.
Right.
And I don't necessarily think they had to create what was in the book where she saw her all over the place. But you could have had some sort of reflection on even just the songs playing constantly. She did mention it to her sister.
Earphones, she mentioned it. Just play the music in the background.
She mentioned it halfway through the movie. And in the book, it was in the beginning. It was like every couple of chapters. Nina Simone was mentioned. And she did see her also. But I'm saying, like, it should have been mentioned from the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Right.
Because that was really the whole reason why she even showed up there.
Exactly. Because Nina told her to. And you didn't even mention Nina
at all until you got into the middle of the movie. Right. That's, I agree.
I mean, what do you guys think about? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say about Nina. She could have been writing her diary to Nina, or because that was her something.
They could have incorporated.
Yeah, they could have incorporated her
into the story. So that definitely fell short.
And so did Ivy. Ivy fell so short.
Really, I love
why Ivy. First of all, they portrayed her as some ghetto black girl with weave.
Did they say
I didn't
in the book?
Really?
No, I pictured her as not to be offensive to anybody, but kind of like low income, kind of trashy white woman.
But in the book, they kind of suggested that she was African American by, I forgot what they said now. But it was something to the effect that she was light skinned or lighter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's why.
I don't recall that in the book because I was shocked to see the character that they played, but I just don't recall them describing her skin color. So it wasn't like, oh, wow, I didn't picture it some kind of way. I just don't know that I really had a picture of who Ivy was going to be.
I could not connect that Ivy would have felt so strongly that she was like a mother to her.
Right.
I couldn't even make that connection.
Me
with the
either.
two of them.
In the movie?
In the movie.
Yeah, in the movie.
Why? Because of the color difference, or?
I don't know if it was just the color. I just think for me it was just that that whole thing was completely lost. And even in some of the conversations that they had, the depth of that connection was kind of lost as well.
Yeah.
I think but I do think that if Ivy, unfortunately, if she was African American, I kind of would have seen that mother-daughter aspect because she may not have had a mother or whatever the case was.
Or
I think
she's
her
a better
mom.
actress.
That could be it.
I mean, because she didn't convey
That's
this,
at all.
like, I want you to be my mother thing well in the book. So it could have been.
I disagree, flat out. Like what Ivy, who she was, she's not a good actress, but her character is exactly how I envisioned it in the book.
Yeah.
Like she didn't have a relationship with her actual mother. That Nona was the mother figure, especially when it came to taking the picture and putting the picture on the mantle. That to me,
What mantle?
Was it a mantle?
No,
It was supposed to be in the book.
It was a table, and it
was.
was like a 4x6 picture. What happened to
It was
big
supposed.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, in the movie. I know the table in the book.
About the whole
I was like, wait, panicking. But how I think that part right there signified enough to me that she was jealous of her not being her daughter, is what she felt before. So to me, I think they touched enough on it.
I was a little confused because the scene with with Ivy and Shay fighting, which led to the burning of everything, was left out too.
Right.
That was so significant.
And she came back and was like, Mom, I'm sorry, I saw this
3 days ago. And she said, we got it coming, you and your mother. I should have said something, is what she was, basically implying. But she, why even ask? How long ago was that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why even ask?
Well,
I guess she was saying, since it happened 3 days ago, you should have called me and bridged that gap. But at the same time, Nona had been saying, I'm sorry. And Shay had been rejecting every time she said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I did understand why she didn't reach out after 3 days. But at the same time, to me, I feel like she purposely asked how long ago was it, because she wanted her to be like, well, you should have called me.
Yeah.
And told me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
See, my mind was still on the book.
I was just like,
that I was thinking, because she said that in the book, but it was in reference to the fact that they had the fight. So I was just like, oh.
Yeah, it just was, that part was a little weird to me. And okay, let's go to baby girl.
Oh, God. She was too big.
Who's Sunny?
Sunny was too big.
I like Sunny. She's so
supposed to be 3. And
she was supposed to be 3.
Yeah, she was easy 5.
7.
Yeah. She was cutie. She was very cute.
Very cute.
She played her role, but she was kind of too old.
Cute.
And in the book, to me, she was more chatty and asking questions and inquisitive. And this one just kind of stood back and watched.
In the book, she was very shy in the beginning.
The book, she was supposed to have this dynamic personality, crazy dressing, just
That's true.
It's kind of what made kind of what made Shay kind of cling to her more.
Yeah,
their whole the growth of their relationship was missed out, I think, too.
Right.
Yes, definitely. It went from this annoying little sister to, oh well, yeah, you're cool.
And the only way they portrayed that is when they went to the beach and they sit beside each other like you're supposed to.
Which that part made me mad.
Exactly.
Because they left out the whole asthma, her basically almost dying, and it was like, oh, your fever's back and I have a cough. You shouldn't have left the house. No, it was a life or death experience, and they kind of downplayed it, which to me was less impactful.
Yeah.
And she was the one who actually wanted to leave, where in the book it was like Shay really wanted to get out of there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I think they blew it with that dynamic, because even the one scene in the book when they were dancing and she realized, oh, she doesn't have rhythm just like me, and it was just
that was another chance they missed out on.
Yeah.
And yes, when she was kind of dancing off beat and she was like, oh, you can't dance like I can. Can't also. And the other thing that they touched on at the end was the see you later crocodile. And earlier in the book, they had mentioned she had kept poking and being like, it's alligator because it rhymes. And Sunny asked, well, what does rhyme mean? So that was another part that they could have really embraced their dynamic, to say, I'm trying to teach you and help you progress as his older sister. But it was kind of at the end touched upon, and she was like, oh, see you later, alligator. No, that's not, it wasn't mentioned several times.
See you later, crocodile at the end of the book.
Yeah, but then Shay's reply back was, see you later, alligator. But then you didn't really understand why she was saying it that way, because that's not the saying. But if you would have mentioned it any time in the movie earlier, at least once.
Right, exactly.
It would have made sense.
Didn't she have a nickname for her at the end before she left? I thought they had something upside down or something like that in the book, which I thought also kind of got to their closeness that they had. Their bond. They came out with a nickname for each other, and I thought that was
little something and big something.
Yeah.
Little trouble, big trouble, or something. Big silly and little silly. That's what it was.
Yeah. I thought that was.
Yeah, that was the crocodile thing. Irritated me so bad at the end of the book. I'm like, well, what are they saying that for?
Right, exactly.
You don't even know what it means. You don't even know the significance of it, because they didn't talk about it at all. It was so silly to even bring it up. The only other piece that drove me crazy was the relationship with the best friend. So, of course, that dynamic was so dumb, because she didn't have the dialogue about the best friend getting pregnant and getting the best friend upset.
Oh, you mean Stephanie's and Shay?
Yeah, Stephanie and Shay. So that dialogue they didn't have in the movie. That was driving me crazy. And then Stephanie is like urgent to see Shay to tell her that she's pregnant. And I'm like, well, you just hooked up as friends again like an hour ago.
Exactly.
Why is she the first person you run into? It just, that whole dynamic between the two of them.
It didn't seem natural.
They left out
Agreed.
Stephanie's sister because that was the reason. That's how she found out that she was even pregnant, because Stephanie didn't tell her in the book. Right. Or whatever. She found out from her little sister Chloe or whatever, and they were saying,
she left out of the room upset.
Right, exactly. Right, exactly.
But I was like, okay, they missed that part. How's she gonna find out her friend's pregnant? So she runs into the record store. Where's so and so? Because I need to talk to her, and she needed to talk to her because she was pregnant. I'm like, y'all just connected last week.
Exactly.
I'm not into you to tell you something so big.
Especially after being in Iowa for so long.
Exactly.
I'm sure you have
talked
made
to us
friends
since you've been in Iowa.
Exactly.
For 7 years.
Oh God, that just I hated the way that they did the dynamics.
The one thing that I guess the biggest thing that bothered me was y'all may disagree, but I feel like Jill Scott, or Nona's character, or Jill Scott's character, wasn't as angry in the book. She tried to not be angry. She tried to always be nice or whatever. Like, okay, okay. But in the movie, she was angry right away. Like, soon as she wanted her to, as soon as she was like wanting her to babysit Sunny, she was, after she said no or whatever, she got angry, left the room. Your responsibility now is to do the laundry. She was just so angry. In the book, she didn't come off as angry. Right. So.
Same words. But
same words. It just seemed like it was
yeah.
softer. Yeah.
Well, I think because it also, it led up to it. You had time to lead up to her being upset with her, because she felt like she was trying to make amends and she wasn't accepting it. So.
Mm-hmm.
So we touched a little bit about the casting already. Oh, did you have something else to add?
One other thing.
Go ahead.
Because
y'all got some strong feelings about this.
So just one more thing. Just one more thing.
Yeah, I forgot it.
On that note, one more thing.
It's gone. It's gone.
I did like the book, though.
Well, the movie made me like the book a little more.
Another one of those?
Once again.
Another one of those.
I like the book. It was a little bit of a slower read for me, but I do like the book better than the movie. And one of the other things that I didn't like was that they cut out... They didn't cut, I'm sorry. They left out the significant parts about Des. Because Des was the person who kind of opened her up to actually dating Oliver. And it was like, oh yeah, Des is over there in the corner talking to George.
Basically,
and that was it.
They never even talked at all.
I was like, you just completely made a character irrelevant.
Who's Des?
The one she wanted to hook up, the best friend wanted to hook her up with.
Oh,
blind date.
Did they even talk?
No.
She ran out the
But in the book, they sharing meals and stuff. Here, eat off my fork type thing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. They left that.
Girl, you got a secret, right? When he said something like that?
Yes.
Right.
That bothered me a lot.
And another thing, like when I was back to when I was saying that Jill Scott was so angry, she never in the book told her, you're going to get out of my house kind of thing, because she was scared because the baby came back sick or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she was like, don't drag my daughter into, because you're angry with me, you can leave this house or something very nasty. And I'm just like, oh.
In the movie.
Yeah, in the movie. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought you were trying to.
She wasn't saying that in the book, because her whole thing is she wanted the girl to stay.
Yes. Yeah.
She did in the book get a little upset with her, because that's why Shay. Remember Shay? She was talking about Shay, and she was worried. She was like, did she actually think I did this on purpose, that I meant to hurt her?
Right.
So that part did
right.
Yes.
So they did.
She did get upset then, and that's around the same time she told her she would leave, to leave the house, It
was interesting, but no.
Okay, so we did talk a little bit about the casting, but did you guys have any comments about how they handled the casting? I know we all love Jill Scott.
Of course. I like Shay's character or who they chose, and I like Sunny's, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, see, I had no love for Sunny's character at all. And I didn't like Oliver.
No, that was the worst.
Oliver just was weird. I mean, to me, when you're older, I needed to see why she would have been so attracted to him.
Yeah.
And you didn't see it?
I didn't see it at all. I didn't see it in anything about him, and he didn't look young enough to me for the way that she acted with him. I'm 25 and you're so young and da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. Like, he needed to look like, even when they were having sex and she kind of felt like when she first told him that she was pregnant, or first realized that she was pregnant, she's like all of a sudden he now looks like this little kid again. Mm-hmm. Like, what little kid?
He didn't look like a little kid.
He wasn't young enough. They didn't cast a young enough looking face.
Yes.
That's Sunny they cast too old. Oliver they cast too old.
Right.
In my opinion, the one that they casted perfectly was Lois, her sponsor.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly who I envisioned.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
So I was happy with...
the Flower Child?
She did a really good. They did a good
Flower
job.
Child.
That's what she reminded me of, Flower Child.
Okay, so no, I didn't get Flower Child. But I think that Mimi Rogers did a good job of playing her sponsor, Lois.
Yeah, I liked her too.
Yeah, I did like her. Wow.
Okay, so I guess we are at the point where we can start a vote. Okay, can I just say one more thing?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure, Treva.
Okay, so in the book, like, do you remember when Oliver had to check her and was like, we're all here and we got degrees and we're all working hard and we're all doing this? Like, I needed that to even happen. Like,
I know.
There was not even this whole her nose snubbing down on them.
Right, exactly.
In the record store type environment that also humbled her. And showed her. I mean, because there's so many aspects in the book where she had to kind of humble herself.
Right. And what happened to Oliver's
think you're better than us because, you're getting you're working on your
masters and we're still
going to school.
Right.
Exactly.
And then she knew nothing about music.
I forgot to write that down because that's a big issue with me. Okay,
I got one more thing.
How are you 25 and don't know half the artists, the biggest artists in the world? I don't understand. Why would that be part?
Well, it made no sense in the movie because they didn't bring Nina Simone in.
True.
But in the book, all she listened to was Nina Simone.
I mean, she's never heard of Mary J. Blige. I mean, come on. Like, I would have been like, Avila, what? Have you been living under a rock this entire time?
She said she was. She's like, I've done nothing. You got to remember, this person was a little kid with a drunk mama who became a big person from her time as she was young. So she listened to all of those things that she knew from her childhood and just continued to listen to them because she never got involved in anything else that was going on other than making sure she got her education so that she would not become her mother.
Yeah, I'm like Oliver. I'm going to need you to turn on the radio.
She didn't. She had all her music. Although, what music?
Where did you get it from?
Because they didn't talk Nina Simone in the movie at all. And I'm like, I got to keep saying that.
Basically.
Right?
That was crazy.
Okay, yeah, let's get on to this book.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so champagne.
Yeah, I'll definitely go first. If I could give it 0, I would. I'm going to give it a sip just for Jill Scott alone. So.
Yeah.
I love the book. I mean, I'm not going to say love. Let me not go
That's
that far.
very strong word.
But I liked the book. It was okay for me to read it. I did not like the adaptation to movie. I'm going to give it...
Drum roll, please.
a half glass because I do love my Jill. And I do think that the actors did the best that they could do. However, it was just...
I just they did the best they could.
Here's your participation trophy.
Because I really need to give it a sip, but I'm saying a half glass because I can't do it to my Jill. I can't do it. But anyway, yeah. They could have done a better job. I'm going to go ahead and give it a half glass because I think that someone who watched the movie would have liked the movie. Can I go back? I think I need to give it a sip.
Okay.
So final answer.
So I'm going to give it a sip. I like the book, but again, we are determining whether or not the adaptation to film was well, and it was not. Left out too much, and so that is my vote. Ray and McCree.
Ray and McCree out.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
I went back and forth on whether to give it a half glass or a long day's work because there's a lot of parts that were left out that I was upset about, especially the whole family dynamic at Thanksgiving with Oliver and his family. But I gave it a long day's work because I feel that as a movie, as the book to the movie, it made a good movie, not a great movie, but they were doing it for the movie aspect. So the parts I took out, I kind of understand why. Don't like it, but I understand why because it made a better movie.
Okay, so I, of course, completely disagree with Lynn. I just did not like the adaptation. I don't know. I felt like they could have added some things in there to make it an even better movie. And I'm so stuck on the flashbacks. Like, tell me what happened in her childhood. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give it a sip because I just think the adaptation was really bad.
Yeah.
So we are all over the board this time.
So 3 sips and
Long day.
Long day. That makes one full go. Just kidding.
One full glass. Total. All right, well, there you have it. That is our opinion of orange mint honey or aka Sins of the Mother, the name of the movie.
Can someone please help me figure out why we changed the name?
Yeah, I know, right? Anybody got any guidance on that?
Oh, I just thought about it. What Lynn said earlier. Just recall. Because did we ever mention orange mint honey in the movie?
Yes, in the very first scene when she first came to the house, she said, I have some orange mint from my garden and I add some honey to it to make it a little bit sweeter.
But in the book, it was different. It was at the end. When she told her
I was
that she
mentioning
needed on the beginning.
Just mentioned, was it even mentioned in the movie?
Oh yeah,
I didn't even remember it in the movie. At least the significance that it had in the book, anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, agreed.
From Apple.
But it was mentioned in the movie once.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so there you have it. Gotta tune in to see what we're gonna be listening to and reading next and watching next.
Follow us on Instagram
At Read Watch Wine.